All right. God bless everybody. I just wanted to give a quick update because there's a possibility that we could be close, very close. So I wanted to give you guys some insights, some clarity, some updates, depending upon where you are on this journey, so that I can help get you caught up to speed. So the first thing is that I have to obviously get out of the way is my disclaimer, guys. First of all, anything that I'm about to say is not to be construed as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I am a Christian, a person of faith who has a relationship with God and believes that I am hearing specific insights that God is showing me about the future, specific to the crypto and precious metals and Forex and other markets as he chooses. Somebody asked me the question the other day. They said, how do I, hear from God? How do I get to do this? And my answer was, number one, I did not pick this. He already had me on a journey of investing, and I would pray, that he would lead me and guide me to make right decisions. And then all of a sudden, I sewed a necklace into a profit. And I think it was shortly after that I began to have these prophetic dreams. And that's a whole different preaching sermon, but that's a reality. Sowing is a very biblical thing. And so when you sow into an anointing, there can be a receiving of something upon your life. So that being said, when you honor an anointing, right? So let me just kind of help get you caught up, because I've got people, I posted on Facebook and I'm like, sell, 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 the market's going to crash. And people are like all over the place. Like some people are like, no, it's going to go up. Some people are like, why would I sell? Some people are like, I just sold and, so on and so forth. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands what I believe is going to occur. Now, please understand, we also know that following the prophetic can also include everything going the opposite of what God has spoken first before it manifests. So there's nothing saying that the market can't go up before it goes down. However, we're stewarding a prophetic word from God that he's given me about the market. One second. So that being said, let me answer the first question. Why would I sell? Okay. So let's see. The market, let's say XRP is at $1.42 right now. If it's expected to go down, okay, for example, $1.42 could be what would be considered a high, even though it's way down from where it has been jostling down from. I think it was up to 360 at one point. However, it's at $1.42. But if it's expected to go down and you could sell at $1.42, for example, some would say you're crazy because that's cheap. Well, it actually is for the long term. In the short term, I believe it's going to go down. And here's what I'm about to say. If you sold at $1.42, for example, and then you were able to buy at $1.10, then if you sell high and buy low, then you're basically taking the same liquidity, right? Whatever that is. Let's say you got 5,000 invested, and now you're rolling it over, selling at a higher price, buying at a lower price, which means you will end up with more coins, more tokens, more shares, of whatever it is you're investing in. In this particular example, it would be crypto, more specifically XRP. And so the point is that it's a way to not have to come out of pocket with more money in order to buy in. Some people are like, yo, I'm good. I'm going to buy the dip if you think it's going to crash. And there's no risk involved for me because I don't have to risk anything about selling my existing shares or coins or tokens or whatever. And that's fine. That's for somebody who, doesn't necessarily believe in the prophetic, or if they did, then they could structure whatever proportion or ratio they choose to risk. But oftentimes people are like, they don't understand the prophetic. And so they will be like, why would anybody sell? XRP is expected to take off. It is expected to take off. And I would have never, ever suspected that God would have me here all these months later from where we were, because I already heard the prophetic words about what's about to happen. And I believe it's going to happen very soon. But even sooner than that is going to be what appears prophetically is a lower crash. And it's going to happen, according to the prophetic insight that I had, it's going to happen at the 9 o'clock hour, whenever that is, on the morning that it happens. Somebody had said that in one of my explanation videos, when I was sharing this dream that I had, this movie that I was experiencing, that I mentioned that I felt like it was the start of the work week, so a Monday morning. That's very possible that I actually said that. And so, I'm watching for Monday. Could it be a different day? Of course. Could it be a different Monday? Of course. And that's what stewarding the prophetic looks like, is that we know in part, we see in part, we prophesy in part. He showed me the last crash where he said 240 would turn into 140, and then it would come back up into 250. He showed me all those details. And wouldn't you know, all of that happened in a 3-hour time span. It was the largest liquidity flush that the crypto market has ever seen in the flash crash of October of last year. And he showed me that 240 would turn into 140 and then come back up to 250. In order to coin that or have pinned that in advance, the percentage of being able to pick that out of a hat would have been, like 1 in quadrillion. I don't know, because like I said, it had never happened at that level before. It was the largest liquidity flush that had ever been recorded. So in order to try to have predicted that would have been just completely absurd, bonkers, ridiculous, and, you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs until it actually occurs, and then people start paying attention. I have to acknowledge also that past results do not guarantee future success, as you know, should know, better know. Now you do. The other thing is, he also showed me back in August of 2024 that XRP was going to take off. We would have a good Christmas. Sure enough, October 15th, when Trump got elected, it drove the markets and in a way that many didn't see coming. And sure enough, we got up to a 5x and even more yield on that deal. So, what God has been speaking is clearly manifesting. The next price point I saw was going to be under $1. I saw a couple numbers under there that I'm not going to fully get into right now, because there's even one that I have not shared publicly that I did share in my private community. And by the way, if you do want to be a part of that private community, always remember to be careful of scammers in the comment section, guys. Always be careful of scammers in the comment section. That's a done deal. But my private community where that's not it. That's it. My private community where I'm, sharing a lot of these more in-depth and more frequent insights, all of them. Here's what God has shown me. After the crash, where I have set my buy orders, I'm going to catch and scoop up the bottom, and then I'm going to ride it up. He actually showed me a price point to sell at. That's right. So there again, it's not going to go to where many people think it's going to go, even after it rebounds. He showed me where to sell again. Then he showed me another crypto to get into that another prophet actually had prophesied, but I wasn't going to touch it because I've learned to just only do what God has shown me because he's leading me specifically. But then I saw in my dream that it would bounce within this range over and over again. So God was showing me it would stay there for a bit. And he showed me, obviously, that would be a good entry point. So obviously, when I woke up from that dream, I wrote everything down. And then I went to the charts because I know that God always shows insights, but they always end up being support and resistance levels. And sure enough, it was the strongest support in the past 5 years for that crypto. And I was just blown away because, and it fell in line with the price range that another prophet had prophesied, and so once again, but it didn't matter because I wasn't paying any attention to that stuff. Because like I said, I was adamant. I've talked with God and I said, God, I'm only going to do what you show me because, you're leading me specifically just for me. And so I am sharing these things with you guys, not to offer any sort of financial advice, but to just share my journey for those who are people of faith and who believe God for these things. He also showed me the price of silver. He showed me that it was going to come back down in the $60 range. I actually shared that on one of my videos recently. Sure enough, guess what happened the other day? $64 it came down to. He also showed me where it's going to go back up to when it rises again. I haven't paid attention to it, but it's just been incredible, the journey that we've been on and how this all began and what God has done with it. And, just our trust level of understanding the ebbs and the flows of learning how to navigate this process, growing and maturing through it, getting better at it. And it's just been so incredible, and to God be the glory. But that being said, guys, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, you can do zero risk. In other words, you don't have to sell right now. You could just buy the dip with whatever available liquidity you have over and above what you have in the market. If you have anything in the market, then there's no risk involved there, other than just buying crypto, right? And the risk that's associated with that, which obviously there's no guarantee it'll ever go up unless you believe in the word of the Lord. And that's a whole different story. That's not for the average person. So, and then of course, anything that you hear me saying that I heard obviously should be tested by you and, judged by you and to be determined by you for any decisions that you personally make, and not because I said anything or because I said God said anything, right? Hope that's clear. But the other side of the coin is you could do nothing and you could just hold what you currently have, right? And that's, weathering the storm. It'll go down. You'll just, whatever the value of your coins will drop, and then they'll come back up when it goes back up. If it goes back up, obviously, because, we're talking about predicting the future here, which I believe we can, if God's speaking. Many people would not agree with that, and that's neither here nor there. So the other option is, like I said, you could sell with where it's at even though some people are like, why would you sell at the bottom? Well, if you believe this is the bottom, then you don't want to sell. And however, if you believe it is going to go down, like I do, then what you would do, if you so choose, would be to sell at what would now be considered the high if you believe it's going to go down. And right now it's $1.42. You could buy back in at $1.20, $1.10. You could even stage your buys, right? Set it for, 25% at $1.30, $1.20, $1.10, $1, something like that. Just throwing this out there. And by the way, you have to set limit orders on this next one. I'm just telling you, if you're going to buy, you better set limit orders and not try to manually catch this next drop. Please hear me. I think there's going to be another potential drop even after this one that's coming that may actually just sit there for a bit. That's why I believe God showed me to sell when it comes back up after this crash at a certain point. And I think it'll hover at this other range for a little while. So I believe there will be another opportunity to scoop up even more after this. Once again, guys, this is not for people who are just wanting to catch a one-time glimpse of what God might be speaking. We are on a journey. We've had multiple moves now that God has shown come to pass like clockwork. And so, this is, not going to be for everybody. You don't want to join my private community. That's why I got rid of the monthly subscription and made it annual, because I don't want people who just drop in to check out what's going on and then leave in a week or two and then think they got out of this what they're going to get out of it. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Some of this is like watching paint dry. Okay? Seriously, because we're stewarding the prophetic word of the Lord, meaning when God spoke to me in April of last year, April and May, right on the cusp of those 2 months is when he showed me the last crash. And he began to show me the numbers. 240 would turn into 140 and then come back up to 250. Well, guess what? That happened and it manifested in a 3-hour time period. 3 hours. When it dropped and flash crashed from 240 to 140, came back up to 250. Imagine the scoop, imagine the profits, the excess of coins you would have out of a move like that. But guess what? It happened 5 months later. 5 months later. 5.5 months. So the point is, some of these can be like watching paint dry because we're stewarding the prophetic word of the Lord. It's just like any other, journey following the word of God. It'll come to pass. Sometimes you just don't know when. But nobody would have ever been able to predict that type of a move because, like I said, when it manifested, we then learned that it would have to have been the largest liquidity flush ever in recorded crypto history, which it was. So my point is like, it's just trying to guess all of that would have just been 1 in a quadrillion, dude. It was just whatever. Can't even play that game. So my point is we have evidence of what we believe God is speaking. That being said, guys, I just wanted to get on here and kind of bring some clarity, some clarification, and to help you understand that if you want to be a part of my private community, you're welcome to join. Okay. God is doing an incredible thing. We've had multiple prophetic words that God has spoken over myself, from numerous prophets. I had several prophecies. One that I shared in my private community yesterday from another crypto prophetic voice on social media that many people follow for their prophetic insights in crypto. And he prophesied over me, saying that many lines will be drawn in this season. Some will be revealed as not being true truly hearing from the Lord, and others, are going to be confirmed. And it was specified which side of the fence I fell on that, obviously, in the prophetic word. Another minister came and we hosted him a few weeks ago, prophesied over what's going to be happening this year, pertaining to, there's been many prophets who have said that many people are going to look back after some of this stuff is fulfilled, and they're going to feel bad because they missed out. This isn't a love for money, guys. This is a stewardship of finances. This is, understanding that we all have to have money to survive and to do what God has called us to do. And knowing that it is about, wisdom and prophetic insight. When the tax collectors came to Jesus and they said, hey, you're going to pay the temple tax? And he said, Peter, go catch a fish. And so he led, it's biblical that Jesus led his disciple into finding funds supernaturally. That's what's going on in this hour. That being said, guys, like I said, this is not for everybody. Some of you guys need to hear that I hear voices. And you need to know that, because for some people, that'll be enough to turn this broadcast off and say, the guy's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But for others who, allow the evidence to speak for itself about what we've seen happen and come to pass to date and how incredible it's been, well, to God be the glory for those things. It doesn't mean that, I can't get it wrong, but it does mean that God has truly confirmed his word. That being said, I'm going to end this broadcast. Just wanted to get on here and just take a few minutes to be with you guys. If you're a minister and you've been following or stalking, I should say, because you haven't been commenting or liking or demonstrating that you're there, and you have questions, and you're like, you know what, if this really is what, you're saying it is, and what I, have heard other prophets say God is doing in this hour, and if he's truly using you, then I have some questions for you. And I want to encourage you to reach out and to ask me, because if I can help you, your family, your ministry, your mission, all these different things, by just sharing with you what I know, you going into prayer about it, determining for you and yourself, talking with your spouse, whatever you need to do, financial advisors, all these different things that you feel like you may need. If you feel you need those things to make your decisions, by all means. But at the end of the day, I can share with you what what has helped many people. Many people. And so I would like for you to reach out, because you're the person that I'm wanting to help. Okay? That's what this is about. And I've had prophetic words about what's going to be happening in the near future, guys. And I've had prophetic words that there's going to be crazy jealousy when these things manifest. People are going to get mad that they didn't do anything, but then they, instead of taking responsibility for that, which a lot of people do when their soulish stuff goes on, they get mad at you for whatever reason, because they can't confront what's really going on inside of them. And also, that people are going to miss out because they just couldn't see what was right in front of them, basically. I don't know how many times I've come on here and tried to state the case, try to defend the faith about what God is doing. I can't convince everyone, but I can be sure to sow seeds, and I will continue to do so. And the scripture is clear that the laborers that came in late in the day, even though they came in late, they still got the same pay as those who had been there all day long. I believe that's a prophetic metaphor about what could happen for you in this season. And that you, even though you're coming in a year and a half from when we started this journey, 2 years from when he first started giving me the dreams in the markets and Forex, but a year and a half since I started sharing this publicly. And even though you're coming in a year and a half late, it'll be right on time for you and your family and your ministry and your mission. Guys, thanks for watching. Please reach out. Don't hesitate. Join the private community. That's where the benefit of the private community is to see everything that God's sharing with me, my processing of all of it live in the limelight, so to speak, like in front of everybody as I process it, sharing strategies in order to protect yourself on how to steward it. And then most of all, having the ability to communicate with me on a daily basis and see my communications as they come up, as you see fit to take the time out to check it out. Blessings to each and every one of you. God bless.